Welcome, everybody, to Living Consciously TV, coming to you live from our Denver, Colorado studios. We are also streaming live on YouTube Live, as well as Hangout and at ConsciousEvolutionMedia.com. I'm your host and moderator, Coach Steve Toad, and we're going to have an awesome show for all of you this evening. We are going on 12 years, 15,000 plus shows, and we are no longer counting because it makes no sense, so we're not going to do it. Our awesome theme for this evening is how to get what you want and enjoy the process. And with us this evening, our guest, her name is Pip McKay, and she's joining us from that place where the kangaroos are roaming 24/7. That would be Australia. Welcome to the show, Pip.
Thank you so much, Steve. It's lovely to be here.
It's so good to have you. And of course, we have our guest with us, the cast with us, the rest of the cast. And Linda is missing in action, but she will join us as soon as she can. But we have Susie Verdi here, and she's joining us from that place that never goes to sleep. That would be New York, right?
Wow. Good evening, everyone. Hello.
Great to have you.
Thank you.
So our theme for this evening, again, is how to get what you want and enjoy the process. And as I was connecting to that theme, what came to me is how crazy is our world, because most people are running away from what they want, and they are having a miserable time at it. Are we crazy, Pip? What's going on with humanity?
Well, I think, there is a lot of crazy things going on. I think a lot of people don't feel comfortable about saying, this is what I want, because they're afraid that they might not get it. And the fear of disappointment then stops them actually even stating what they want. And then there's other people who know what they want, but then they go ahead and get it in a way that is so destructive for their relationships, for their body, and for their sense of well-being. And I think for a lot of people, it's like they're waiting until they achieve something before they can be happy. And the work that I do is all about how can we get what we want and achieve what we want, be successful in that way, while still having great relationships and having a tremendous sense of well-being.
Awesome. Well, aren't we, but what's occurring for me is that aren't we always getting what we want anyway? Because the universe doesn't really understand. When we say what we don't want, the universe just brings us more of that. It thinks that that's what we want more of. So aren't we always getting what we want?
Well, I think there's different parts of us that are emanating out. So, there might be the part of us that says, I want a really wonderful, healthy relationship, or I would like to make money from what it is I love to do. But there may be another part of us, which might be a younger part of us, that has been perhaps programmed by parents or society that we don't deserve what we want. We don't deserve love. We don't deserve financial abundance. We don't deserve good health. And so sometimes out in the universe, there's two things emanating. There's the things that we say we want, and then there's the things that we might be emanating unconsciously, which is part of old negative beliefs that might not be serving us. So in that way, yes, every single thing that we get on some level might be what we want, but not all of those things are making us feel happy or satisfied or feel like we're gaining the love that we want or deserve.
So Pip, I was wondering, actually, when I also was looking at the title of our show tonight, what happens when people think they know what they want and in fact they don't? In other words, giving a very simple example, you want that relationship, you think that relationship will bring you joy, will bring you all the feelings of closeness that you always longed for, and then you don't get it. And this might sound like in the first moment as something that you didn't get, and yet you got a lot by not actually engaging in that relationship, because it would not bring you all the things that you were expecting. As a matter of fact, it would be detrimental to your development as a human being. How would you see that?
Well, I think it would be great if our development as a human being, where we could enjoy the process as well as the outcome. So, look, there's definitely times when we've got certain lessons to learn, you know, so it may be something like health, which, you know, Linda would know all about. And sometimes, you know, a lack of health can certainly bring us learnings that we would want. But I think there comes a point in our development where it's great to be able to actually go ahead and actually enjoy our life and to be able to put forward the things we want. And what we put forward as we want is actually aligned to what the universe is wanting to give us too. So I think, you know, we manifest on 3 different levels. So I think we manifest consciously, so that's what we say we want. We manifest unconsciously, so that's some of the things from our past that might be affecting what we want. And we also manifest spiritually, so those are the spiritual lessons that we're getting, whether we consciously or even unconsciously know that's what we want. And I think when we come in harmony, where our conscious mind, what it says we want, and our unconscious mind, we've cleared enough old programming or old beliefs that it's in alignment with what we spiritually want, well, you know, that's really when we're really having a fantastic manifestation. That's where we've really got what we're aiming for, and that's where we can actually enjoy the process as well as the outcome. So I think there's definitely times when, you know, like for instance, I know for myself that I really wanted to have a child. That was a really big desire for me. And I did everything I could think of to be able to do that. So I went through IVF, I did everything I could think of. And it just wasn't possible for me. I went into early menopause, and then it wasn't possible for me to have a child in that way. And there was certainly a lot of compassion that I developed through not getting that thing that I wanted. But in the end, when I was able to open myself up and really align my conscious mind, my unconscious mind, and my spiritual mind together, the universe kind of gave me a lot of beautiful godchildren, and in a lot of ways that definitely suits me better with my lifestyle than if I suddenly had a child at 45. But I think in the end what is great is when we know ourselves well enough, both unconsciously and consciously, that we can align ourselves with what our spiritual purpose is. And when we do that, we find that there's less distance between what we think we want and what Spirit wants for us.
Right.
Okay, so let me welcome Linda Dyer from that place again where the kangaroos don't stop roaming 24/7. That would be Australia. Welcome to the show, Linda. Uh-oh. She's working on hooking up her audio correctly. I just know that intuitively. So here's what's happening for me as you described what you described, Pip, is that what I'm hearing in that conversation is that yes, most people know what they want, but for some reason, whatever that reason is, and maybe it's unconscious, that they don't believe it, that they can actually have it. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think there's 2 aspects to this. Sometimes people say the thing that they want, and it's just, you know, what the culture has told them they should want. And so then that's not really what they want at all. So that might be one reason why people don't get what they want. But another reason might be that what they want is really what they want. It might even be spiritually aligned with who they really are, but somehow there's a subconscious belief of not being deserving or being unlovable or whatever that says, or not good enough, that basically says, no, we're not going to give you what you want, and can kind of go about a process of virtually sabotaging what the person really wants. So I think there's, you know, it's quite complex why it is that we think we want something and we don't get it. And sometimes we don't get it because we need to decide that we want something else that's more aligned with who we really are. Sometimes we don't get it because there's a clearing that we need to do. We need to clear away something in our unconscious mind that says we don't deserve it. And other times we just simply need to keep persisting And I think it's kind of about, well, how do I know the difference?
Yeah. I personally think that sometimes when you're not getting something, it's there's a space for opening to wisdom and to see what it is that the universe is trying to say to you, because there might be a bigger teaching there too. And as you were saying, Pip, there are 3 levels of knowing what you want. So there's one level that is more ego-leveled, identification, like I want this car. But maybe, on a higher level, it could be I want to pursue this career, or I'm looking for my mission in life. So it's interesting how sometimes, as you were saying, that, maybe all the levels are not aligned in the same way. And perhaps, a smaller desire is not in accordance with a bigger desire, and therefore there's a friction, right? So like being open to grace and to, some call it the will of God, some call it the universal force. For me, it has always been a beautiful space to be, because sometimes I'm actually on the verge of being surprised by something that I not consciously had even conceived. And yet, by being in that space, bang, that thing comes around. So
absolutely. In the principles that we look at this principle of surrender. And sometimes when we're not getting what we want, we actually do need to simply surrender. And in that place of grace, like you're saying so beautifully, Susie, I think this is the place where we can hear our intuition, our inner tuition, that may have a wisdom or an understanding of divine timing that we haven't been still enough to have access to until we have that block that stops us and makes us go within.
Yep. Can you hear us?
And I think, yes, I can.
Oh, God, welcome.
Okay. Oh, thank you. The universe is really interesting with the connections for Down Under, and while Pip got her connections at a high level, mine was still coming in on the last kangaroo. I must have.
Your manifestation is a little slow today. It's okay.
Okay. I'll do something about that. One thing I was going to say was that sometimes when we want to go for something, we think because it didn't happen the first time, we might just give up. And I know when I was looking for my dad's family, I was because he's such a family man and we had such an incredible loving family, I really wanted to find his family because he came from England and they were sort of lost in the war. And I went once and it didn't happen, and I went twice and it didn't happen, and then on the 3rd time it actually happened. But if I'd given up after that first time, he would never have been reunited with the family he's reunited with now. And we wouldn't have taken trips to England to meet with them and invited them out here, and it's just been a real wonderful experience for him to have that reconnection with his family and vice versa. So it's about that never, a lot of us are 3-time convincers, and it's about that never giving up. If you really feel that something is aligned with what you want to do, that, there is always a way that you can make it happen.
But I think that's exactly what the space of grace could be about. It's like, it's not giving up. It's feeling what it is that is true for you on a higher level, perhaps. I'm sorry, did I interrupt you, Pip? What are you going to say?
No, keep going, Susie. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So maybe just I guess what the space of grace is about is not putting a limit to your belief, and yet looking for wisdom, because perhaps in some cases it could be that it's not of your highest interest to pursue a path that if there's something better waiting for you. So that involves the wisdom of choice. And I guess, Linda, that's what you chose. You chose to go ahead. Yeah. But sometimes people choose not to go ahead because they realize that if they listen to their intuition and they sit in that space of grace, they might find something even better for them, because the universe has so many surprises for us as well if we just surrender to that possibility.
I think
Okay.
oh, I've just pulled my earphones out. I think Linda's point's a really important one, and the same with Susie, because I think a lot of people believe that surrender means you don't do anything and you just wait for the universe to do it for you. And I think in our world of kind of instant gratification, sometimes people are kind of losing what happens in terms of our growth when we persist, when something doesn't come easily the first time, and then we persist. That often we learn so much and we gain so many resources by continuing. I think the key thing is that when we listen to that place of grace, that deeper intuition, we know what to persist on and what not to persist on. I know for myself, in terms of finding my love partner, that was a big challenge for me, and it took me a really long time to do that, and there were times when I just simply did just give up. But I do remember that I kind of did the process almost on three things. I had to admit to myself that, the fact was I really did want a love partner, because there was a time where it became so painful not getting what I wanted that I would just say to people, oh no, I'm perfectly happy single, which in actual fact I was perfectly happy single, but it wasn't the full truth, because I really did want to have and find my love partner. So, there was that level where I finally went, no, I'm happy to tell people that that's what I want. And then there was another level where I decided I was just going to do focused coaching, life coaching, therapeutic coaching, to clear what were any blocks that left. And by that time I felt like, how can there be anything more? I've done so much work on this area. And but I decided to really focus on that, and I did clear some things at a level that I hadn't reached before. And then after I'd done all of that, I remember there was this day where I was just like, I'd met this friend of mine, and she's a beautiful Lebanese woman, and I asked her how she'd found her partner. And she said that she prayed for 3 days, and on the 4th day her partner came. And,
wow.
I'm
sort of... And, only 3 days.
Yeah. And she was
Come on, ladies. Come on, ladies.
I know. She was very much a Catholic lady, and my spirituality was kind of more, perhaps more spiritual or alternative, I suppose. But I just thought, well, do you know what? If it worked for her, I'm going to just do this. So I got down on my hands and knees, and I really prayed, beside the bed for 3 days. And the way I prayed.
This is not a really
so
show,
what
ladies.
happened?
We're not doing confessions. We're not doing confessions.
The way I did this was I just said, you know what? Whatever you want to believe in, whatever that is, God, the universe, the goddess, whatever, but that being is going to know what's going to be right for me. And I got it wrong so many times. I'm just so ready to surrender. And so I did this, but I think the key is that I'd already done the previous work, and then there was this moment where I just had to surrender. And do you know what? On the 4th day, my friend who had told me her story, she rang me and she said, do you like Irish men? Because my beautiful Irish friend who I've known for 11 years, he's finally, stopped dating those women who weren't suited to him, and I think you'd be really suited. And so on the 4th day, I literally got a phone call for him, and now I'm engaged. And that's actually
Congratulations!
Okay.
So is the Conscious Evolution Media team going to Australia for the wedding?
Yeah, love to have you all.
Come on, Steve, let's go to the kangaroo land for the wedding.
Oh my God, no.
I'll make sure there's kangaroos there.
I see this new LLC being formed called the 4th Day.
Wow. For a manifestation process.
Yes, and people are going to be following you all. Doing this, the hope and the promise is outrageous. So that's fantastic. But let me just share something with you as you were sharing this. what came to me is many years ago, I become an expert at banging things into place. And I don't do things that way anymore, but I recognize a lot of people doing the same thing, what I used to do. And I'm going to give you an example. I wanted a 747i BMW, and I wanted it so much that I made a declaration that doesn't matter what, I'm going to have that car. So I went to the dealerships to look at it. I talked about it every day to myself and to others. I have picked up brochures and I put it in front of me that I could look at every day. I have become like, you know, how do you say, what's the word where you just became obsessed is the word I was looking for. I became obsessed, and that's what I call becoming a master of banging things into place. And I did get it. Against all odds, I manifested it. But guess what? It was a lot of hard work. It wasn't what our theme is talking about, which is enjoying the process. I'm not sure that I really enjoyed the process because there was a lot of upside downs going on, and I had to connect certain things to make it happen. And yes, I am proud of myself that I learned that I am that powerful that I could manifest it against all odds. But I didn't have the experience of having that to be an easy process at all. And what I do now is I'm not waiting for the fourth day. I'm just connected to my source as much as I possibly can be. And I know that I have told my true self a trillion times what I really want and all the things that I want, and it knows what I want. Like Pete said at the beginning of the show, that the universe knows, yes. So all I do now is make sure that I'm not putting roadblocks in, which is very similar to what actually Susie said. And it's not like really letting go of what I want. It's aligning myself with the frequency of what I want and being open to receive it. Does that make sense? Which is effortless,
Absolutely.
really.
Absolutely.
It's completely effortless.
I think that's
Yes.
really important, like the principle of receiving. You know, we see this as the third principle, and that is that, yes, you need to believe that you can have what you want, and then you need to, yes, absolutely, there's a point where you need to definitely focus on it in some way, but then you need to open yourself up to receive, and that the secret to receptivity is vulnerability. So a lot of people are willing to do, like you said, the head banging part of it, where they're doing the work. Some people,
Yeah.
some people
Banging it into
aren't.
place.
Some people
Yeah.
simply aren't willing to put in any time and effort, and I think we can see that that's also not a good thing for manifestation. But I do think there is this place, which is, I think, Susie, what you're also talking about, this grace, where you do open yourself up and you go, okay, can I be vulnerable enough to go, this, you know, I can trust that this is something that I can have and that I don't have to force it into being.
You know what occurs to me as well, and maybe we can just reflect on this. You know, what occurs to me is the why. Why is it that we want what we want? And if, you know, as we were sharing those ideas, I thought, like, it's interesting because there's a sense of beauty and connectedness that I heard you express to us under your desire to have a partner, because it's so beautiful. You probably have a romantic personality. You're probably someone who has a lot of love to share. So the whole idea of, you know, getting together with somebody, it's lovely. You know, it's wonderful. And it's true also that this man that entered your life will have, you know, a different personality, a different world, and you're going to have dynamics that will unfold once you get together. So, you know, I think we are attracting things, but also it's important for us to remember that we are attracting, and then there are dynamics of growth that develop from everything that we attract. And so, you know, from now on, you're going to have to deal with, you know, dynamics of partnership, which is a completely different ball game. And maybe, you know, because of your wisdom, his wisdom, you're going to make it very beautifully, and that's everybody's wish for a happy, you know, couple partnership. And yet, like with what Steve said, also the BMW, for instance, it's interesting because you know, sometimes having a BMW entails putting more effort into getting an expensive car. Maybe, you know, maybe it doesn't come through a check on the mail. Maybe it works through, you know, it works through a project that involves harder work, but it pays better. So at the end of the day, how much we're willing to, you know, to put on the scale, you know, our gains, and also what it is that we are, you know, receiving in a way that works for us, perhaps. So it goes back to the why were we doing what we're doing. And if it works for us, then we can call it effortlessly because it works for us, right? At the end of the day, you have this beautiful man in your life, and you're all for like exploring all the new dimensions of partnership with him, right? You're not thinking about that it's going to be difficult. You're thinking that you're all into the pleasure and love and beauty of that connection. Does that make sense? The why we do what we do?
Well, yeah, but I think we should answer that question. So the why, for me, is, and this is true for everything that I want. The only reason I want what I want is because it makes me feel good. There is no other reason. The reason I want to be in a relationship is because it will make me feel good. Because my partner will be nice to me, and it will feel awesome. It will feel, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now just talking about it, because it will feel good.
3 days.
It will feel good.
Don't forget 3 days.
The reason I got the BMW because it made me feel good. It made me feel good. Can you think of any other reason why you ladies want anything than that?
Well, but then it didn't feel good once you got it. Did I hear it well? Is that what you said to us? Is that what you actually shared?
No, it felt good when I got it. You know, finally I manifested it. It felt good, but it just didn't last. You know, once I achieved that goal, okay, now I got it. Now what's next? And that's a trap. I experienced that to be a trap for me. Is that it was always one more thing on my list that I needed to accomplish. It's this mentality of do, get, need, want. We're crazy. We're crazy about doing that. I feel.
But hang on a minute. That doesn't invalidate the fact that you got it. Like, you know, after the second day, after, you know, you have the whole feeling of having it, if you're ready to let it go, then it would be a different decision, you know. You wanted it, you manifested it, you had it. 2 days later, you're ready to let it go. Some people need to have it for a longer period of time, but you did manifest what you wanted. I guess that's the point here.
Absolutely. That's the point I was trying to make.
Yeah,
but the way I did it was not the easy way. It was not what our theme is about, which is enjoying the process. It was actually difficult and hard to make it happen. But you know, I had the kind of personality in the past that if you told me I can't have something, or somebody tells me I can't have something, I will prove you to be wrong just by making it happen. And I don't do that stuff anymore because it just, none of that stuff makes sense to me anymore. What am I carrying? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's different levels of feeling good. So, you know, the Dalai Lama talks about this too, and maybe Linda's got some more insights into this as well. But I think, you know, there's feeling good, which is just simply a pleasure response. And then there's feeling good, which is kind of a sense of well-being and happiness. And they're different orders of feeling or even thinking. So just like there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom, there's a difference between, you know, an intuition and just simply thinking that you know. There's 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 higher orders of feelings as well. So I think one of the things that people have in relationship is they're kind of like, well, I just want to feel good, and then say you have an argument about something, or I want to go to France and he wants to go stay home or whatever, and then suddenly you're not feeling good in that moment. A lot of people can then go, oh, well, this is not what I signed up for. I want to feel good. So I think there's a kind of a level of feeling like you're suited to somebody, or a level like when I'm following my passion and purpose and creating a business from that, it doesn't mean that I always feel good in every aspect of that. Sometimes someone might complain about something, or I've got to respond to an email or whatever, and that's not what I would consider my passion and purpose. But there's a longer, more deeper knowing inside myself that the investment of sometimes some aspects of it not being pleasurable is worth it for the long time sense of well-being that I have, or sense of contribution that I have, or sense of higher order attunement that I have that goes beyond just the instant pleasure. So sometimes it's great, sometimes it's totally pleasurable, like right now, having a great time and enjoying myself, and everything's totally aligned with beautiful people who I love, and Linda, my dear friend Linda as well, being here. So sometimes pleasure and long-term happiness are together, but sometimes it might not be pleasurable to do something in a short term, but the longer, greater aspect of that is worth that. What do you think, Nina?
Well, I must
respectfully. I agree.
I'll come back, but I'm going to respectfully disagree with you here.
Yeah.
When I first started on this journey of manifesting, it was an interesting process because I was actually teaching at TAFE colleges, further education colleges. So not only was I experimenting with what I could manifest, but I decided to change the curriculum, don't tell anyone, and put the students into a similar vein of thought. And it was really, really interesting, and I watched them make these same changes. So I was manifesting the car. Like Steve was talking about, I rang the guy, told him what I wanted. He said, we don't have one. I said, look, I'm told that you'll get it.
Now go get it.
He said, who told you that? And I said, look, so I actually started with this whole trust thing, that if it works for some people, why don't I just trust the process? And sure enough, I gave them a date, and 2 days earlier, they rang me and said, this car's in. And I said, of course it is. Like, I was so... And then the student said to me, but you haven't even driven it. I said, oh, yes, I have. In my mind, I've been driving it every day. I've been thinking that that's what I'm in. So by the time I got it, it was boring because it wasn't new anymore. But the students were having amazing success as well, and one student took the whole class out and showed what she wanted, and she went and purchased it, and her whole love relationship changed, and it was just absolutely phenomenal to watch a classroom of people experimenting with what I was experimenting with, and then it went on. So I think we start with the smaller things. So I found I did, the cars, the houses, but now I manifest villages in Africa. Like, I go to China and help people over there. It becomes a whole different world. I mean, Pip and I are working with a village in Africa to help them completely be sustainable. And that's a whole different, but I went there, I found it, and I said, I'm going to do this. And I had no need to think it was going to be hard work, and yes, the money hasn't flowed as quickly as we may have wanted it to. However, they are having an amazing time now because we're contributing to them living a different lifestyle. And the more I teach with my book, the more people pay me to go and do that, the more money I can send, and Pip contributes. So it's just the most amazing feeling to know that one day maybe all you're manifesting is a new pair of shoes or a car or whatever it is for you, and the next day, once you get it, for me, once you get the process that you really can have anything you want, and you're prepared to work on yourself, as Pip said, to clear away the things that are limiting you, then you realize that your purpose on this planet is way beyond what our original thought was. And why aren't we doing that, whatever that is? And it's just someday you just sort of get it.
Yes.
The journey.
Very good.
The journey for me.
Very good. So hang on for a second. My point exactly, because I want to go back to my respectfully disagreeing with Pip, because I believe it is possible for us to be happy, joyful, and loving all the time, most of the time, all the time, because any moment when we are not, it's our responsibility to notice that we are disconnected from our source, and it's our responsibility to connect back in. And
I agree. I'm not.
It doesn't have to be. Yeah,
I think what I'm saying is that I've seen people destroy a relationship, which is a great relationship, because there's a moment where things aren't easy in that moment. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't work towards it being easy in that moment. There's some relationships where you just know this is not the right person for you. It's not worth the investment in yourself and in the other person to continue with that relationship. But there's other relationships where, oh, absolutely, I agree.
But who attracted that person, Pip? Who attracted that person?
When I reach enlightenment, I'm going to be happy all the time, every single time. But I certainly know that in my relationship now, there might be a moment where I'm not feeling happy in that moment, and I then look to myself and work on myself, and also look to communicate with my partner, and we work on that together. But I might not be having pleasure in that exact moment. My aim is to work through that so it is, but at the same time, I certainly wouldn't give up the relationship because we were having a moment where we were having to work through some issues that were going to be helpful for our personal development. But sometimes when we're doing that, it doesn't feel fun. Then once you overcome that issue or work through it or whatever it is that you need to do, then there's another whole level of connection that happens. But I have seen people, in our world where kind of a throwaway world where people aren't willing to have those moments where things aren't being pleasurable. The moment's not pleasurable, that's off with that one and up with the next one. And I think sometimes when we do that, we can miss out on a deeper sense of joy that happens as we work through. Because in the end, the lack of pleasure in that moment is simply letting us know a message of our need not being met, or something is not working for us that can do. But the ultimate aim then is to work through that and come back to that place of pleasure. But I do think there is the difference between just simply momentary pleasure and a deeper long-term happiness. And that I would rather invest in that long-term happiness, even if every now and then there might not be a place of pleasure, rather than throw away the long-term happiness to be chasing the pleasure. Because I think chasing the pleasure can be an addictive place, whereas looking and surrendering to that long-term happiness and having the emotion of the lack of pleasure telling me that there's a place of growth for me, or there's a place of communication, or there's a place that something needs to be worked through. I think that's a tremendous message, and I love to be happy about hearing those more what people in the past have called negative emotions, because I think most people, they hear a negative emotion and they feel afraid of it, or they feel angry that they're feeling that. Whereas I don't feel that way. I feel like, oh, I'm going to embrace that. That's a message to me about something. It could be a message about a clearing I need to do. It could be a message about a communication I need to have. Or it could be a message of surrendering more deeply. But I want to investigate what that message is in a loving way towards myself, to thank myself for that message, so that I can have another level of happiness or another depth of love that I might not have had otherwise.
Yeah, very good. And that's exactly what I meant. I want to make sure that you're not
So-
misunderstanding. I'm not pretending that we're not going to have, or I don't have negative feelings. I do. I was just saying that it's up to us to shift it as quickly as we can possibly shift it. And I completely agree with you
I think
on,
the
on
irony.
that part.
So I would like to
I
add a
think
little.
the irony is that. Sorry. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Linda,
I
yeah.
was going to say the
let's just
irony
let's
though
just
is
let's just have us do this one at a
It-
time,
it-
huh?
if we're
Alphabetical order. Linda, you first.
all I was going to say is it's interesting that if we meet somebody and the things don't work and then we decide to flip off and let's go with someone else, the irony is, because my son said to me once, Mum, why do I keep attracting these particular females? And I said, probably because you're caring. You're a carer and you're attracting people that need caring. And I said, the funny part about it is as you change, I don't mean for you not to be caring, but as you change as a person, the people in your life will also change. That's the law of attraction. So sometimes we can flip off a relationship and funnily enough, we attract the same relationship with a different person, but very similar. So life doesn't ever seem to be that that the relationship world is for us because we don't spend, as Pip said, a long enough time. One of the biggest things for me was learning how to communicate more effectively because in our world growing up, we were told to do everything. So the whole asking great questions was a huge thing for me to learn in my spiritual growth and for my growth generally, both in life and in relationships. And that's what I was just doing recently with my son. It's just saying, ask great questions, you know, rather than ordering each other or telling each other what you should be doing. The more great questions you ask, the more you both grow in that relationship, wherever you want it to take you.
What I was going to say is that Yogi Bhajan, who was a very, very famous yogi teacher from India, who brought Kundalini yoga to the West, to New Mexico more specifically, he used to say that marriage is the most difficult yoga that exists. He used to say that people walk into a relationship wanting to feel good, ignoring completely that a relationship is a path to enlightenment, because you have a very close opportunity to work with your shadow all the time. As a matter of fact, I am an astrologer. And I teach in my programs that, you know, the same house in an astrological chart of partnership, according to medieval astrology, is the house of known enemies. So it's actually the known enemies. So when you know, if you want to know if you have a problem with somebody, you have to check on the house of partnership, which is the house of marriage. So modern, you know, looking at with modern eyes, we can say to what it is that we most need to learn. And so that's why I think when Pip said that, you know, yes, there is a choice to be made about feeling good and investing in like long-term, happiness. I would say that, immediate pleasure really gets bombarded by shadow dynamics, because yes, there's no way you could live with somebody all the time nicely, because this person is meant to push some buttons and to make us grow. And so as evolved people as we are, knowing that we are not perfect, we would like to feel like we are completely aligned and completely, manifesting everything. But as long as we are on this planet, there are issues that we're working with. And partners come to our lives to hold hands and say, okay, let's see if you learn all the lessons, because there are going to be some buttons that will be pushed.
Well, it actually not just our partners, but any human being that we come into contact with.
I know, but you don't sleep with every human being that wants to be happy. Hopefully.
I think this is where, you know, it's so great, like you were saying, Susie, that when you're with someone else who is willing to take responsibility for their share in what's going on. I think that makes a tremendous difference. It doesn't mean that you know, it's always plain sailing, but I think it makes it so much easier when each person's willing to go, well, do you know what, actually, I think I just said something unfair, and I'm going to have a little investigation as to why I said that. And I'm willing to go away and, you know, get some coaching or to meditate on that or to look at that, and I'll come back to you. So I know for me, because when I was younger, you know, I had chronic fatigue, and the way I kind of organised my life was that I could look after my health and I could do my passion and purpose in work so long as I could just manage when I slept and, you know, my energy levels, and I could, if I just needed to spend 2 days in bed doing absolutely nothing, there was nobody to interrupt me or anything. And that was the way that I managed to stay well and to do my passion and purpose on the full-on way that all of us love to do our passion and purpose. And so it was an interesting dynamic when Will came into my life, because he was someone who really, he was a real connector, and he just loved to he wanted to just be with me all the time. And I just simply couldn't manage that at that, you know, at my level of development. So it's been a really interesting journey to kind of go, okay, well, I still need to look after my health and I still need to do my passion and purpose. And once upon a time, that was the total limit of my capacity to manage and function and be happy. So, you know, how do I now do this with somebody else in my life? And what do I need to communicate with that person? And what do they need to learn, and what do I need to learn, and what work do I need to continue to do to ensure that that happens? So yeah, that's been a really interesting journey, and it's brought up various aspects of our shadow. And the thing that's been so great for me about Will is two things. One, you know, he's willing to look at when he's been unfair, and, you know, I'm willing to do that too. And then two, like Linda was saying, communication. You know, Will is a communicator, and that's just been such a wonderful thing for me, because, you know, I need to know, even if the person's feeling something that's not very positive, I need to know what it is, because intuitively I can pick up something might not be quite in harmony, and it's really important for me that I can see it out on the table rather than I'm, you know, attempting to work that out without the other person say so. So it's been wonderful to be able to take responsibility for myself and be with a partner who's willing to do that, and then also be with someone who's willing to communicate, even if sometimes that's not the easiest process.
There you go.
Oh, Pip, you would laugh, because the partner I was with, I would say, can we have a chat? And he'd say, uh-oh, I think my ego's going to be dented.
So I have to say something right now, because it's just, I have to say something. So I am no way qualified to even talk about being in a partnership with somebody, because I haven't been for the last 10 years. So I am still working on myself and loving myself fully. So I want to make sure that that's not being misunderstood with you ladies and with the viewers. I can't speak to like what Pip is speaking to, which is she's in a relationship right now, so she has the experience and examples, and she's awake and she's conscious, and I'm assuming her partner as well. Otherwise, you know, we attract who we are and what we want. So I haven't done that yet, so I can't really say what my relationship would look like, you know, my close, connected relationship, because I haven't accomplished it in the last 10 years since I've been awake and conscious. But I hope to soon, and then I can speak to this. Until then, I feel not qualified. other than to speak about my relationship with myself. So there you have it.
Yeah.
I needed to clear it up.
Well, thank you for your sharing, Steve, because it's true. I think, relationships are about relations and about relating, and sometimes we have all sorts of theories about how we should relate, and yet it is on the daily experience that we measure, our capacity to love, to accept, to be compassionate, to support, and I would say to give. I think that there's a whole level of giving in relationship, because if we step into a relationship thinking what we're going to get, usually it doesn't work that well. I'm not advocating here to be used. I'm advocating here to be loving, which means to give lovingly, And I think that's why perhaps these days people are so involved with their own business that it has become a bit more difficult to even envision what it is that we're willing to give to a relationship. We're always thinking like, oh, we want to get the relationship and it should be perfect. And, and for the straight people, women, the man should be good looking and successful and loving and understanding. And there's a whole list of things, The only problem is there are not that many of those in the market. And then there's because there's a way in which, life goes beyond our lists. It happens. It's like John Lennon used to say, life is what happened when we're thinking about other things. We're making our plans. So making our decision inside of our heart and then being loving, like Pip was and is in her life and her work, and also putting her intentions out there, it attracts. And that's the law of attraction. Therefore, but there's a lot that we're putting of ourselves out there. We're giving. It's also a gift, we're giving to the universe, the fullness of our being, isn't it? Our ability to feel, completely aligned with love and ready to experience love. So that's something to say about that, I think. Yeah. So.
And I think with Steve, I think the universe is saying to you, just stay, you are so good with your harem.
Too much of a good thing.
Okay, give it to me.
I love you, Steve. We're gonna be just jealous of you.
I can take it. Go ahead, Linda. What's the universe trying to tell me?
I just thought of that, like every weekend, possibly many times through the week when you're running your shows, you have a lot of women that you attract to your shows, and you just love it, and it's a beautiful place, and we love working with you. And so maybe the universe has said, you can have your one-on-one a bit later. We're not ready for you to leave the harem yet.
That's fine. That's fine. I have no problem with that. Like I told you, the way I'm living my life is I know it's coming and it will be here when it's the right timing. So I'm not worried about it. It will show up just like Susie said, when I least expect it, probably. And I'm not really worried about it. But the stuff that we're talking about here, I am putting to work also in corporate America. As you know, I've been doing this project for like 2 years now, and I am brought to my knees sometimes in corporate America, because I'm putting this whole stuff about evolution of consciousness, being conscious, being loving, being connected, and boy, I cannot tell you that there's no. I can't imagine a more difficult place to do this in than in corporate America, and especially in the financial industry. I am taking this to the test, to the hilt, every day, and I'm still here.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
So
Yeah.
there you go.
you know, I think one of the beautiful things that the ancients used to talk about is that they used to say that the conscious mind is masculine in nature and the unconscious mind is feminine in nature, and that, you know, one of our kind of journeys this lifetime is to have a harmonious relationship between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. They used to call it the divine union within, blessed by our higher self. And I think, you know, I know for me, for many years, that really just took up all of my attention. You know, it was just sort of creating that rapport inside of myself, and I certainly felt very happy, you know, by myself, because I found that kind of deep sense of self-love, which I imagine, Steve, that you also have, that deep sense of self-love that allows you to go out into the world, and, you know, to share in perhaps an industry that might be very transactional, to then, you know, bring a sense of wholeness and love into that. I think is a really, really beautiful thing. And I think, you know, I don't think that we need to have a partner to be whole. I think we just, you know, it's really about us creating that internal relationship within. What I've been finding in my journey is that I was fine by myself, so I was very loving of myself, and I was working through that, and I love that. What I was not finding so easy was interacting with others on that intimate level. So, and like you were saying too, Susie, like I found that when I was by myself, my shadow, I just wasn't experiencing it that much. But then when I suddenly with a partner, suddenly I was seeing aspects of myself which I wasn't finding so easy to have a loving relationship with.
There's a saying at home, you know, when you think you're very enlightened, go and spend a week with your mom, or go
take it to
and
dinner.
get married.
Take it to dinner. Yeah.
Those are the ultimate tests.
Yeah. Take your parents to dinner.
So interesting.
Right on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's just really interesting our different journeys, and I just really think that every journey, no matter what it is and what its future holds, you know, just has so much validity in and of itself. And I think this is where it goes beyond achievement. You know, it goes to, and I think this is something that you were sort of looking at, and you know, all of you were talking about it at various times, that you know, this big why behind what the achievement is, and sometimes we can fulfill the why in a better way, or we might not even realize that there's another way to fulfill that why, you know. And, you know, I found that for myself, like whether I was talking before about not being able to have children, and I remember this day when I realized I was not going to have children. It was completely devastating, because a lot of my life that had been a big why for me. I just assumed that I would always be a mother. And when I couldn't achieve this thing that was the most deepest heart's desire for me, I was totally devastated. And I just felt like all my life had lost its meaning. And I remember that Linda was actually speaking up in Brisbane with Patch Adams, and she invited me up there, and I wasn't sure whether I was going to go, but when I had this deep dark night of the soul, I just thought, oh, I'm going to go, and I just booked a ticket and I flew up and saw Linda give this speech, and then I saw Patch Adams, and you know, Patch was talking about how he knows 3 words in every language, and that is thank you, and I love you, and hello. And he was talking about this girl who had cerebral palsy, and how he was sort of bringing her out with his clown doctoring, and he was there with her, and he could see her starting to open up and to blossom, and she lost control her saliva, and the saliva dripped on his arm, and he watched her just shut right down again. And he took her saliva and he rubbed it on his arm, and he said, "I love you, I love you, I love you." And I was I was so touched. Even now, it just touches me so much. And I thought of that unconditional love and acceptance. And I really felt that I needed to have that of myself, even though I hadn't achieved this thing that seemed such a deep yearning for me. And it was a tremendous moment for me. And then I sort of realized that there are just so many children out there who are looking for love, and that I can still get my big why, which is, you know, this love of children, and this closeness and connection with children without having birthed one myself. I didn't want to adopt. I felt like I had enough kind of semi-adopted children as it was, but it was interesting to find that I could still get that in another way. And it's been beautiful to work with Linda with our Africa project, because of course there's lots of children there that we can contribute to in another way. And I think this is the beauty of it, that the intention behind what we want to achieve is never taken from us, ever, ever. It's just the way that we might receive it might be different than what we expected. So sometimes we get so hooked on to the narrow version of what we want, of the how we're going to get it, that we forget that you know, the universe will always give us what we want. It just might be in a form that we weren't expecting. And I just got that so hugely from the experience. And I'm not saying that I got over not being able to have a baby in one day. I certainly didn't. It took me a long journey, but it was this moment, this aha moment, that really began that. So I'm really grateful to Linda to inviting me along to see her speak, and all the wonderful things that Linda does, and the opportunities that she opens up for people, as that was for me.
It's beautiful.
Already then. So what's coming to me is the conscious hour is over. As always, it just flies away. I could be talking with you ladies for another hour easily. So our theme was how to get what you want and enjoy the process. So I think what I'm feeling to do to kind of wrap this up is if every one of us could contribute, just sharing something from your own experiences, what you do, and how you get what you want, and how do you enjoy the process. If you could share something, that would be awesome. Who wants to go first?
Well, for me, it's
not all of
just
you
a
all at once.
For me, it's just a decision. I just decide what I want. So for the year that we went and found the African thing, I decided two things. One, that I was going to have a charity to get my teeth stuck into, and secondly, that my business would go global. So by doing a charitable thing, my business went global. And it just happened that the journey of deciding, not wishing, but deciding, what is it that you really want, and throwing it out there. The universe just needs a symbol. It already knows that, and it can't wait to send you everything you need to make it happen. And of course, a coaching client came along and said, "I'm going to Africa." I said, "Of course you are." And of course you need me to come with you. And she said, "Oh, you want to come?" I said, "Of course I do." So, and the rest is history. But it's, and was it easy? No. However, it's fantastic. It's phenomenal to know that we can, make a difference in someone else as well while we're making a difference in our own.
Awesome. Wow.
For me, the process is very intuitive based. I usually sit on the space of grace, and from that space of grace, I ask myself, where is the universe taking me? Where the energy is? Where can I direct my vision, because I can feel I'm aligned with that vision. and usually it's very powerful. And you know, I've had a wonderful life. That's all I can say. This 1 second, it's very little to share, and but usually I sit on that space of grace all the time, and once I hear, oh, okay, that's what it feels true and right, and that what it feels like there is the greatest potential for me for growth. Once I hear that, I am just invincible. I just decide that I'm going to do it, and I do it because I feel the universe working through me and with me, and that's why for me, you know, it's like I know it's me doing, but the conviction that I'm meant to do that comes from a marriage of my little self with the greater self, and that's what makes me feel very strong. I even thought cancer like this. You know, I had cancer, and I went through it in very, very wonderful ways, and as many others, I think Linda as well. But you know, the truth is, you know, that point of perfect alignment for me is where I'm always looking for, and I wait. Sometimes it's not very clear, and when it's not very clear, I sit on the space of grace, and I continue to invite grace to talk to me and to talk to my heart and to show me. The moment I see it, I boom, go like an arrow.
Fantastic. And you, Pip?
Well, for me, I think about if there's something that I'm thinking about doing, I really think about, or having, I think about, can I fall in love with this? Can I fall in love with it? And if I feel like I can fall in love with it and that I can love myself through the process of birthing it and bringing it into being, then I feel that it is aligned and that I can manifest that and go through the hero's journey of what it takes and how we develop as we get the things that we want. So to me, it's really about that. Do I feel connected with it enough that I can say, I'm in love with this? So my partner, he's so funny because I'm always saying I love things. So I'm like always going, oh, I love that client, or oh, I love my business in this section, or oh, I really love that blog I wrote, whatever. And he goes, and I love you. I
want to go to Kangaroo Land for this wedding.
So I really say to myself, can I fall in love with this, and can I love myself whilst I'm going through this process? And if I can do that, then that helps me to discern what it is I'm going to put my energy into and what I'm going to decide to cut away. Because we can't do everything. Just like we can certainly love everybody, but we can't have everybody as an intimate partner. So we need to be discerning about who it is that we choose. And we need to do that the same with projects. I really see that every project and everything we bring into being is a relationship of some kind.
Awesome. All right. So for me, it's just I ask for what I want, and then I'm receptive to receive it, and I'm not concerned about, you know, how it will come or when it will come. I'm just receptive, and I intuitively not watch for. It's really a feeling thing that I can feel it coming, like there's rendezvous with people and things that shows me that I'm on the right track. So that's how I do it, and I really enjoy the process because it's very intuitive and it's very easy versus banking things around. I let the universe do all the banking things around for me. So that's it. Wow, this has been fantastic. As usual, I have no idea how this show's turned out, but oh boy, this was a lot of fun. Thank you, Pete, for being here on the network again. And we had this incredible theme, how to get what you want and enjoy the process. And and I'm positive that we have touched, moved, and inspired many people with our sharing and just who we are being. So thank you for the cast members as well, Linda and Susie. You were awesome. Thank you for being who you are. And wow.
Thank you.
All I can say is wow. Keep watching these shows, this one and all the others. We have like 2,000 shows up on YouTube and thousands of subscribers. Keep subscribing. Keep watching. The more you watch, the more these shows get to the top 10. When they get to the top 10 each and every month, we publish them, and then they end up either at public television or on cable television or any of the new networks that we are looking into right now. So thank you so much for being here. Ladies, you're absolutely awesome. I love my harem. I am in love with my harem. Thank you, and have a great evening.
Yeah.
And we'll see you guys next
Have a
time.
great week.
Bye.
We love
Thank
you.
you.
Bye. Thank you, Steve.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Susie.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Mhm.